I've just realised the last 3 books I read throughout March, the titles are Eat, Pray, Fuck My Life, In the Woods, With Every Vow You Break. I've inserted the with because I just thought that was hilarious. So accurate. I'm going on a socially distanced day later. I'm going on a socially distanced day later. Problem is now, I have no idea what to wear. When was the last time I dressed up for a date? What do you think? Hello, April. You have come around pretty freaking fast. Welcome to the last part of my March wrap-up. The first book I want to speak to you about today is Eat, Pray, #Fuck My Life by Gabrielle Stone. I just knew from this title that I had to pick this book up, and to be honest, I was amazed how much I related to it. At almost 30, I have gone through a very horrible toxic breakup, and that's the basic premise of this book. Is this woman who finds out that her husband has been cheating on her. She's younger than me, she's 28, but yeah, she decides to get a divorce and start over in life, and it's a bloody scary world out there. I mean, I think the only part of this book that didn't resonate with me was the travel part. Thanks, COVID-19. The thing about this book is that because of what I've been through, it really felt like I knew this woman in this book. After she files for divorce, she starts this crazy whirlwind romance with this guy called Javier, and they decide that they're going to set off on this massive, like, grand European adventure. But like literally mere hours before they're supposed to take off on their flight, he flakes on her. And it's quite apparent that something is seriously wrong with him. And I literally just wanted to shake this girl because it just reminded me so much of someone I know. I was frightened and honestly shocked by the emotional, like, instability. I just wanted to make her know not to waste her time because, you know, I've been there, I've done that. This guy was just awful. He was manipulative, using tears against her and like just being completely unavailable all the time. Like, oh my god, it was really scary and eye-opening because it was like reading my situation but in someone else's words, like someone putting it into words for me, which I really needed. I think unless you've been there and experienced what that kind of situation is like, you don't really understand that kind of pain and anguish. Gabby, in the book, she decides that she's going to take herself on this European adventure by herself without Javier because screw it. So this book recounts her journey, her travels, who she meets, her sexual endeavors, her misfortune, and slowly her progression into self-love and acceptance. I mean, don't get me wrong, as much as I loved it, and I really did, like, it really resonated with me a lot, there were things that didn't really sit right with me. Like the way that she communicates with Javier's mother throughout her entire journey, that kind of just, I don't know, it's a bit strange to me. I also really didn't like the parts in the book where she shared text messages. It kind of felt like those text messages put this really dark cloud over the story. Yeah, I think like the texts were just kind of cringeworthy and didn't do the story any justice. But I do, as a whole, I feel like the author is getting a lot of flack for this book, and I don't really feel like that's fair. There is a really deep and powerful message that the author is trying to get out in this book. If you dig through the superficial elements of this book, you will find it. You have to understand who is writing this book. It's not Elizabeth Gilbert. It's Gabrielle Stone, actress and dancer. She does have a more privileged life. Yeah, she's got a different way of viewing the world than us mere mortals, but you know, don't judge her too harshly for the way that she sees the world because it's how, you know, she's been conditioned to be. It's just her opinion. The last thing I'll say about this book, the one big gripe I had, is the girl's supposed to be 28. Her character came across as though she was about 40 years old. Like, she's complaining about this super hot guy that she's just hooked up with who's so many years younger than her, and I'm like, she's 28. Overall, I really liked this book. I felt like it was fun, emotional, real, raw, and teaches us how to make a self-love cocktail. I gave that book a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read In the Woods by Tana, which is the first book in the Dublin Murder Squad series. Let me just say, mystery and crime books are not my thing. I find this very bizarre considering my love for true crime, but I find their books really slow paced and just not my cup of tea. I'm not much of a tea drinker anyway. I'm a black coffee girl. So the case that our main character in this book, the one that he's covering, it's dark and gritty for sure. You've got to be able, you can handle, you know, a story about a young girl that gets murdered and raped. I just found like the tone of In the Woods really gloomy. So the main character in this book is Detective Rob Ryan, and it slowly unravels that he was actually, many, many years ago, there was a case where some of his friends went missing when he was a kid, and now in the same woods where his friends went missing, this girl's been murdered. So there seems to be maybe a little link. I don't really have much to say about this book. I mean, I gave it 2 stars. I do feel like the writing was excellent, so descriptive, beautiful, but I just found the book unnecessarily long and a bit of a slog to read. It was boring me. And that's literally all I have to say about it. Then I read Every Value Break by Peter Swanson, which I know some of you have been dying to hear my review on, so here we go. So this is a book about a girl called Abigail, and at her bachelorette party, she decides to have this one night stand with a stranger. One last night of fun before she gets married. Then, while she's on her honeymoon at this like exclusive elite island resort kind of place, the guy that she slept with rocks up, and he's kind of like determined to prove to her that what they had was not just one night of fun. And yeah, you know, he's obviously stalked her there, figured out her real name because they gave each other fake names and stuff, and he seemed a bit obsessed. So, you know, I thought I'd absolutely love this story because stalker books, freaking love them. There's something about them that they're suspenseful, they're intense, the psychological element to them, I love it so much. There were so many little things about this book that irritated me so much. Like, for instance, okay, she's about to marry this billionaire dude who doesn't even make her sign a prenup before they get married. I mean, instantly unbelievable. And one of my favourite booktubers, Jacqueline, mentioned that this was one of her favourite thrillers she's ever read. So I had really, really high hopes for it. And honestly, I was a bit let down. And I've read some of Peter Swanson's other books in the past, and none of them have really tickled my interest. None have enamored me. There's something like a magnetic pull I have towards his books that keeps making me not give up. So I don't know what that is, but I keep just not, I just have to pick up another one. I feel like there is a Peter Swanson book out there somewhere that I will really enjoy. I just haven't found it yet. But anyway, Every Value Break. At first, when it all started, I was just bored, and it didn't hook me straight away like a good thriller book should. Well, I'll be very honest, the main character, she did really trigger me because cheating is just something that I do not agree with or accept at all. I think it's hideous behaviour, so I instantly just didn't have a connection to her. I felt no sympathy for her and actually thought that she got whatever she deserved on this island. Like, the girl shagged a stranger before she got married at her bachelorette party that her future husband funded. Like, what a bitch. The one thing I can say about this book though is like, when it ramped up, it really ramped up. It had me on the edge of my seat. I could not stop reading it. There was just so much mystery to this book that I had to figure out what was going to happen. While there wasn't a sci-fi dystopian thriller twist to this book, I do feel like it teetered on the edge of unbelievable. In fact, I'd go as close to saying that, to be honest, in my opinion, it got a little bit ridiculous. A story about men taking things way too far to control women. And seriously, like, how many people can actually be involved in such a crazy conspiracy? But anyway, I'm going to stop now before I say too much. As for the main twist of this book, I just found it quite basic. Like I said, I haven't really enjoyed a Swanson book yet. However, I'd say out of all the ones I have read, this is my favourite so far. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars, and it was just like alright, you know? So there you have it. That was my last books that I read throughout March. Now we're in April. Time to roll on and read more books. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.